Hi guys, it's me. I'm going to show you how to use these three resources. I'm looking right now at the Food World research paper, and I'm going to show you how to use three main sources that I put in Google Classroom to help you get through this research paper. Okay, this is your foundation. So what I'm kind of scrolling through right now, this is your foundation paper, and it has a ton of hyperlinks in here. So what I'm highlighting right here, see where I'm going? That's considered a hyperlink. And the cool part about this is that you can click and get to any resource that I have put in there for you. So the nice part about this main source, well, this is your outline paper, okay? So your outline paper shows you how to organize your essay. It shows you what to include in each paragraph, but it also has these useful, once again, hyperlinks that take you directly to the documents that are going to support you as you're writing your paper. Okay, so this is like your centerpiece. I'll show you the documents that are in these hyperlinks that I keep referring to down here that I'm highlighting. Put a little note right there. Use these, let's say, links. They're called hyperlinks, but I'm going to use these links. And they are so helpful because, like I said, you don't have to fight to go back into Google Classroom. You can just click within the document. I will put them in Google Classroom as well. So if you prefer just to like click in there, that's fine. But this is your one-stop shop. Okay. All right. So here's what the writing situation is for your research paper. You're going to be answering the question: do we need to understand our food world to better understand our food choices? Okay. I'm not going to go through all the directions because that is what I'm requiring you to do. But I want to let you know the key things. So the key things are you need 4 sources here. And you can use news articles, maybe even here like a YouTube film, whatever. I don't care. I mean, you can even use more sources, to be honest with you. But 3 of those sources, and I think this is the big part and why I'm only highlighting certain things, is that 3 of those sources must be from Google Scholar or articles from the lesson, right? Like the articles that I've given you along the way, the stuff that you've annotated on Newsela or the New York Times article, any of those qualify as an article. Or maybe you found one on Google Scholar when you did the crap test and you're like, ooh, I really like that one. Absolutely, that works. Okay, so any of those are fine. And then I said, I want one source. I mean, although I want majority articles, because I said I want 3, I do want one of them to be from a YouTube video, a film, or interview of sorts. If that's overwhelming you, don't stress because these links right here show you how to make that happen. But I'm pretty sure you've probably caught on to like a little video. I haven't been able to give you a lot because of the crunch time of this lesson, but I did have a couple of cool food ones, and I know you can find some out there. Once again, just like the craft test, make sure those YouTube videos are credible, right? And if they're not, make sure you're using them to support your argument or your counterclaim. Okay, so it's just, I guess it depends how you're using that video, but you're more than welcome to. Okay, and here's the big one. This one I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about is your works cited page. It's also referred to as a bibliography. I'm not familiar with Pittsburgh's policy on whether they want to call it a works cited or bibliography. I prefer for you to call it a works cited page because in essence, that's what it is. So on the annotated sample, if you're like, what is she talking about? I'm going to show you in a second. In this, when I say annotated sample, in the student sample, that's right. You get a student sample to look at, okay, which is going to be super helpful. You get to see that I crossed out works cited, but it's your call. I really do prefer for you to say works cited. Once again, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, works cited is important because it's a list of all the sources that you used in your research paper. Okay, so you need to tell the reader all the sources that you used, and that becomes its own page. Okay, I'm going to quickly jump to that works cited page so you see what it looks like. So it looks like this. Okay, we'll talk about it in a second. Don't get overwhelmed by it. We'll talk about it in a quick second. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through sources. I'm skipping over this part. I need you guys to read that on your own. But sources we've used so far. So if you're like, oh, I don't remember, what did we talk about? Da 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 da. Here are the articles. So what is processed food? That one, if you remember, that was the first. It was like a PDF, right? And then the Newsella article, the food additives one, the one that you did on Nearpod, right? That counts also on YouTube. If you're following my YouTube channel, you can access that YouTube, no problem. And then how pork diet contributes to coronavirus risk. It's a New York Times article. So any of these can be used. Okay. So do you have sources? You already do. Okay. And then you can add additional ones if you prefer. These are just to get you started so that you feel like you have some sort of sources to use, but you do not have to use just these. You've already gone through the crap test. I trust that you can navigate through the World Wide Web. Okay. So if you want to go beyond this, that's fine. Okay. All right. All right. The essay outline. This is the big one. One of the main. This is what probably was where I will spend most of my time, but I'm not going to go on for too long, okay? Because I want to wrap this up fairly soon. Okay. One of the biggest concerns that I had last time was that people did not look at the outline, or they looked at it, and I know there's a lot of words here, and they're like, I don't understand. So I need you to take that I don't understand, and I want you to switch it into I'm going to try to figure this out. All of this outline is everything we've been doing throughout the year. It's actually kind of like an extension of your last two essays. So the research paper is not throwing out brand new techniques. You're still doing TEAK. That's not going away. If you notice, TEAK stayed in the informative essay, it stayed in the argument essay, and now it continues to live in the research essay. So I need you to be able to open your mind and use it as best you can. I'm going to say this again. Use it as best you can. Okay? It's not going to be perfect, and that's fine. I'm just looking for an attempt. I'm looking for effort. Did you try? Okay, maybe you didn't do so well. That's fine. But in these times is the best time to try something because guess what? You're not going to fall. So make sure that you give it a shot. Okay, so open mind. All right, so paragraph 1. It's your introduction. After this outline, I did like, this is the details, right? Like what to include. If this is overwhelming, if you're like, okay, present relevant information, introduce research question, that's the question that I showed above. Thesis statement, I'm still having trouble. I actually made an outline to support this introduction at the bottom of this outline. Okay, so if you need to look at that, use it. If you're like, nope, I'm good with the introduction, Miss Saldana, I looked at the sample, I'm good. I can do this without any additional resources. Sorry, any additional support. Then go ahead. You're good. Okay. So this introduction, it's the same structure, right? You give some background information. The big thing here is remember that your audience has zero knowledge, so you're giving them information about food, what you've been exploring, right, to guide them to your thesis, which is your position. Like what claims, what new information are you giving your reader, right? Why are they here? What are you trying to bring to the table? They don't know yet. Okay, so you're leading them there. Okay, you're not just going to start with like, yeah, food. Da, da, da. It's like you're going to sound random. Okay, so you got to build. Okay, so that you have a structure for at the bottom of this. Okay, I'm going to move on and use it if you need it. Okay. Let's go to paragraph 2. I'm only going to explain paragraph 2 and not 3 because paragraph 2 and 3 do the same thing. So once you have your thesis statement, once again, do not move to paragraph 2, 3, 4, or 5 if you do not have a thesis statement. There's no way you can continue moving forward if you don't even know what you're writing about. The thesis statement is your everything. Okay. It includes your position, your claims. So if you don't know what your claim is, how are you going to move into paragraph 2? It's not going to work, right? Okay. So, thesis statement is that GPS. It's setting you in the right direction. Okay. All right. So paragraph 2, you've given me a claim. I don't know what that is. I don't know what your position is on the question, but whatever it is, this is supporting. Okay, so it's going to follow the TEAK: topic, evidence, analysis, right? And so it's a little bit different. When I say a little bit, not dramatically, we're taking out the C. So you're going to T, E, evidence, A, analysis, E, evidence analysis. So it's going to be a T, E, A, E, A situation. Okay. What does that look like? See these little hyperlinks? There's a student sample that shows you what that looks like. Okay. So if you're panicking, go to the sample and I would study that sample. That sample follows this structure almost perfectly. When I say almost perfectly, it's like you're a human, so you're going to make tweaks and you're going to add your own. When I say add your own, you're going to structure it in a very similar way. You might go a little outside, but for the most part, you're staying within the box, right? So this sample does a really great job of the student taking ownership of their writing, yet still following the same writing rules that's required within a research paper. So, and that happens because you're at the end of the year, you're more comfortable with TEAC and you're taking more risks. I hope that makes sense. So those are good things. Take risks within the structure of the TEAC. Okay. So I'm going to keep going. So then paragraph 2 and 3, for the most part, look the same. And if you don't remember what the TEAC handout looks like or even how to like support it, once again, notice right here, I put a hyperlink for that. So you can click on it and go. And you don't have to like scurry around Google Classroom looking for all those handouts because I embedded them throughout this document. Okay. All right. So that's that paragraph 2. And then paragraph 3, you're going to be writing an additional claim that supports your position. Okay. So it's going to go paragraph 1, your intro, paragraph 2, a claim or aka topic that supports your position. Paragraph 3, another topic claim that supports your position. So 2 and 3 are going to look so similar. Okay. And then you're going to move on to, and this is the different one. So paragraph 4, this is the one that's the counterclaim. Once again, we did counterclaim and argument, and this is where I'm going to kind of wrap it up. Okay, this is going to be the most challenging part. You're going to use words from the transition list. Once again, I put a link there. You should be using the transition list throughout anyway, but you are going to state your counterclaim. I strongly recommend that you look at the research paper to guide you with that one, the sample. I strongly recommend. I'm going to glance over to it in a second, but if you don't look at it, I think it's going to look very confusing to you. Anyway, so you're going to state your counterclaim. And then here's what I highlighted right here. Then you're going to go in and explain in 1 to 2 sentences why the counterclaim is incorrect, false, or misguided. Okay. Confused? Go to the paper. And I'm going to go to that in 1 second. Okay. So pretty much it still follows the EA situation. You're only doing it once, but the change here is that you're making a counterclaim and you're explaining why it's incorrect. Okay, that's actually I think the cool part about it. So, and once again, what is a counterclaim? It is bringing up the other side, right? So you're acknowledging that there is a fault. There's another perspective besides your own. Why do you have to do that? Because you're showing the reader that you've considered not just your position, but you've also considered the other side. Okay. And especially when doing research, you have to do that. It makes you look way more credible, that you know the multiple aspects of your claims. Okay. So if you're noticing, you're like, oh my gosh, that's very similar to argument. It is. All of these types of writing build on one another. So you're not just doing completely brand new skills. No, if anything, you're combining skills. Okay. So I'm going to pause it there. I'm going to jump to the sample. Okay. The sample looks like this. And notice how I annotated it already for you. So if you're like, I don't know what to look for, I've already labeled it. So her header went on the other side. That for MLA citation, that's actually the correct location. So you can follow that. This is a previous student of mine when I worked in San Francisco. So if you're like, hey, who's that? She's actually real. And then notice her title, very creative. And notice how she didn't take 20 million spaces. And this is her lovely introduction, right? And then at the bottom of the introduction, she did a really great job of introducing, see where I'm highlighting, she introduced her research question before she gave me her thesis. Very well done. Okay, I really like that. All right, so we're going to move on. So her next paragraph is, of course, supporting her claim that she made. She's talking about what is it? The USDA has made steps to improve contamination, but it needs to be improved um, because of poor inspection. So she's calling them out for poor inspection, like they need to do better about inspecting meat. That's a good argument. And she's also, you're like, that sounds like argument. Yeah, but she's also informing us of a situation, and that's the research component, right? So she's informing us that this is an issue, and we wouldn't know. If you're noticing, it's actually combo, informative, and argument, and that's exactly what should be happening, right? That's exactly what should be happening. And she's going to take an objective tone. You're going to notice it sounds a little bit like, informative, very reportive. That's the idea. You're not saying, I think, and it's not about you. You're reporting information that you have discovered along the way. So there should absolutely be no eyes in this. Okay, it's a research paper. All right. So then, as we move down, she starts her new topic. Right, contaminated meat is a result of poor inspection. Boom, she just throws it out there. We're not inspecting correctly. Great. And then she goes into the agricultural department. Boom, she moves in immediately into her evidence. But if you notice right here, she's giving context. She's explaining the evidence before stating the evidence. So she's leading me into the evidence, which she brings in here. And notice how well she cites. According to Ian Baldwick, a representative and inspectors. Oh my goodness, it's so well done. She mentions the writer here. That's one way to do it. Okay. I noticed that some people, like, you mentioned the writer in the beginning and then you put it again in the parentheses. Don't do that. If you mention the writer here, like she did it, there's no need to put the writer in parentheses. And she put the, notice how I put a little note, citation is correct, because she put it in quotes, USDA pilot program. She put the title, and then there's none of this page. We know it's a page. You don't write page. So MLA citation rules is you just put the number. Okay. Please, please, please follow her sample. She did a really great job of cleanly putting context before her evidence. And then she goes into her evidence and the citation is on point. Okay, so really, really, really study this. She also goes in, she uses transition words throughout, which I said you should be using throughout. Okay, so she does a TE, she analyzes it. Okay, and then she continues to add more evidence and uses a transition word to lead into the next piece of evidence, because you're going to be doing TEA, EA. All right, so let's look at the second piece of evidence. All right, so in addition, okay, she's leading me to the next piece of evidence, and boom, she does it. There it is. There's that next piece of evidence right here, and then she does a beautiful citation right after with the number there. Okay, so that is what you're doing. So she's going to do the same thing again for the next paragraph. Okay. I'm not going to go over the next paragraph because it's another topic that's supporting her claim. I'm going to jump down, and it's the same structure. She follows the TEA, EA. I strongly recommend that you study what she did. Okay. I'm going to go into the counterclaim paragraph, which is this one right here. And notice I said counterclaim. Okay. And what she did was so skilled. She used the word nevertheless. Nevertheless, some critics argue that the reason that transition word, I agree with my little annotation there, transitions words that signal counterclaim. Yeah. If you don't have a transition word like that, I don't know that you're presenting evidence that is against your claim. And I love that she said some critics argue. That's a great way to do it. Then, matching up the outline, there's an explanation of the counterclaim. She did that really, really well. Then she gave me a piece of evidence. Evidence number 1, right? Correctly cited. Then she continued and gave me another piece of evidence. So she's kind of doing like 2 pieces, like TEE, but it's okay. It's fine. She connected both. And actually, I said that. She did context before the quote, and then she linked evidence number 1 and 2. So they weren't random, right? There was a link between the 2, and she did that really well. Then she analyzed it and then wrapped it up. I would say this is a combo of analysis, and then the last sentence was her conclusion. which I didn't write there, but it's okay. So she did the whole TEA. And yes, she had two pieces of evidence here, which I thought was really well done. Okay, so this is her counter paragraph. I would really study this one because this is the one that's a little bit different to write. It was very well done. And of course, she ended with her conclusion paragraph right here, right? And this is where I need you to present solutions, right? She gives additional ideas here. See that? She leaves the reader thinking. She does add a personally, I believe. I'll allow that for this part, but just be really careful because I do want you to bring up solutions and I do want you to leave the reader thinking, but I don't want you to be putting I throughout your essay. The only part that I will let it pass will be in the conclusion. Okay? All right. And then here's her works cited. Her works cited, I crossed out and I put bibliography. She should have had this all on one page. And notice she only has 4 sources. That's exactly right. So you guys should have about 4 sources in your paper too, because it's a 5 paragraph like this one is. And I said should be its own page. Look at the note I put here. I said example on Google Classroom. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. I want you to go to the works cited guidelines and don't get overwhelmed by all this. It's just this list is how to organize the citation. It has to be correct. Why, Miss Saldana? I don't know. It's just the MLA citation rules. That's what they want. It's annoying. It takes long, but it's the easiest thing in the world. Okay, so you're going to organize your citation list and you're going to write works cited at the top. So I'm going to go back to the sample. She actually did that correct. She wrote works cited at the top. That was right. Okay. And then she's going to alphabetize a list. So she actually did do that. She alphabetized the list really, really well. So, which is easy to do when you only have 4 or 5 sources, right? Okay. So don't trip out on that. And you're alphabetizing according to the last name. So there you go. Okay, so then I'm going to keep going down. If you're not sure how to organize your citations, I gave you multiple examples, ones that I know that you've accessed. So I know you guys pulled out a lot of online articles, so I gave you an example. If you have one writer, so maybe you got an article for one writer from the New York Times, hint, hint, right? We got an assignment from the New York Times. This is how you would do it. You'd give the author the title in quotes, the New York Times in italics. Yeah, that's a big one. You're like, oh, so many little details. That's why I used to kind of cringe when it came to writing, what do you call it? The works cited pages or bibliographies. I used to get really frustrated because it was like so many details. And it wasn't hard. I didn't have to really use my brain, but it's just, and then that whole indenting, I had to indent a space underneath. So do the best you can. If you don't have a computer and you're working off your phone, I get it. It's not the end of the world, but I do want you to organize your sources and put them in this order, okay? And the order is right here, okay? But if that's too much, you might just want to look at the example. I don't care what you decide, just make sure that you're looking at one of these things. Okay, so then you put the URL. If you notice, there's no HTTP in here. They took that out, so you take that out. And then this date here, this is the day it was accessed. Okay, so I accessed it on the 29th of May. I cut out the 29th. Okay, you can also write accessed on. Oh yeah, there it is. Accessed on May 29th. Okay, so that's the last part. So it has to go in that order. And then if you have 2 or more writers, if you get an article that has multiple writers, then you list the last names of both, but you do a comma, right? So it just depends. That happens. Sometimes there's 2 writers on an article. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to keep going. If you went into Google Scholar and you're like, oh, I don't know how to cite that. There you go. Very similar. Once again, the author, right? And then the title in quotes, and then what journal you got it from, and then the volume right after. Sometimes it's kind of cool because they already have the citations done for you. I'm frustrated because we don't have the SIRS program. It's a ProQuest program that I was obsessed getting you on, and they're already actually done for you, so you don't have to form these. So just so you know, as we move forward and you go into college or we keep doing research, at school, just know that the SIRS database already has this pre-done for you. So it's pretty sweet. Okay, so just know it gets easier when you have really good databases. Okay. Okay, so multiple authors, same thing. So if you're still using like a Google Scholar and you're like, it's multiple authors, this is how you would do it. When it says and ETAL, that means that there's additional, that's a sign that there's additional authors. Okay. So you don't have to write all the 1,500, I'm just kidding. Maybe there's like 7 writers on it. You don't have to write all that on there. Okay. That's what this represents. All right, let's keep moving. Books, guess what? This is the one that from your article that we did this morning. Not this morning, last week. Sorry, it's morning time. So yeah, it's already done for you. So you actually could copy this if you decided to use this as one of your sources. Okay, so and here's another example. This one's pretty easy. And this is for a book like that you have in your hand. And this article was taken from a book. Okay. And then YouTube, let's say you decide to go on a YouTube or use one of mine, whatever, that's how you would cite it. Okay. And once again, you take out the HTTP. You don't need that in there. And then 3rd of July, whatever, that would be the day that you accessed it. Okay. Film, maybe you used a piece of a film. I don't know. Food Inc. are really great. Maybe you can go on YouTube for that, but let's say that you wanted a clip from Food Inc., then you would have to write Food Inc. and then directed by da-da-da. Okay, pretty easy. Interview, maybe you interviewed a friend, someone in your house. Who knows? This is how you would do it. You would write their name, you write personal interview, and then the day that you interviewed them. Okay? If you need more examples, this is, once again, I put a link in here for Purdue OWL. Yes, I do want you to go to Purdue OWL. That is the main site that you'll probably end up using into college or any other school, but Purdue OWL is a great spot for MLA citation. Okay, and then here's a sample of what a works cited looks like when you have like an 8 to 10 page paper, and it has all the different types of print. If this is helpful to look at, then look at it. And then I put one more. This is a person who has like 4 citations, like Jean Chan's, the one that the student sample I just showed you. Hers would look more like this. Okay, and so if you had an 8 to 10 versus a 5 paragraph, those are the difference. Regardless, still the same, just different length paper. Okay, all right, so use this as needed. Maybe you just look at samples like the student sample. I would definitely say look at the student sample. That's going to be your life. And then I'm going to say one last thing before I wrap this up. I'm going to scroll to the bottom of this research outline. Notice how I said I provided an introduction sample. Use it only if you need it. And I mean that, you guys. If this is not helpful to you, then don't use it. I just put it there just in case. Okay. And then last thing, this is not meant to confuse you. Okay. Only use it if you need it. This is just an outline of all of this without any details in it. So if you're just like, what is she asking for? Well, I'm asking for body paragraph 2 needs a topic, body paragraph 3 needs a topic, body paragraph 4 needs a counterclaim, and body paragraph 5 is a conclusion. So if you're wondering what are the pieces, here you go. All right. Okay. So please reach out to me if you have any questions. These are your 3 big pieces: your outline, the student sample, and the works cited guidelines. You need these 3. Do not forget that this outline, sorry, I'm scrolling up, has a bunch of links in there embedded, so you shouldn't have to fight to look for all these sources. I put links connected to the student paper and the works cited. And actually, I think I even added the TEAC one as well. I did. So please, 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 this research paper, this main one, the outline, this is your one-stop shop to get you to all your sources. All right. Best of luck. You're going to try and you're going to do the best you can. And guess what? That is always going to be good enough. Okay? All right. Much love. Talk to you soon.